The Sword of Light and the Sword of Darkness were chosen at the same time in the South Sea. But he slashed the bright, holy sword with his backhand. Without hesitation, he picked up the dark magic sword, because he knows the future self will die under this holy sword. It turned out in the previous life, Lian wields the dark sword. Become the strongest shadow assassin on the continent. Fight for the Empire for the rest of your life as a shadow. Sweep away warcraft and dominate the continent. But he never thought that his loyalty would be betrayal. It was only because of his strength that he was feared by the Empire. So he ordered the Knights of Light to kill him. But even Lian was already seriously injured. But it still shows a chilling strategy. Single-handedly hold off the Empire's most elite troops. After seeing Lian's terrifying tone, the suspicions in Polis's mind were also validated. Really? You are the assassin to whom the rumored Black Mist belongs. Lian's expression was cold. Questioned Polis. Who told you to do this? And while looking for an opportunity to escape, you must get out of here. Investigate the brother behind this matter. However, Polis seemed to have guessed what Lian was thinking, sneered, and told him not to try to escape. It's covered with a 9-star magical enchantment. Hearing this, Lian's eyes were cold. Disdain for such enchantments. I'll show you all the sabotage. But at this time, a faint voice drifted into his ears. That's it, Lian after seeing the comber. Lian's eyes straightened instantly. The heart was full of disbelief, because that is the brother who has followed him all his life. Love Gerbert. He never expected it. The man behind all this turned out to be his pro-big brother. At this time, the pillar of faith in Lee's peace of mind collapsed. Lost and fell to his knees. He couldn't understand it. Could it be that I did something wrong? But to this, Ager only responded indifferently. His cold eyes were full of disgust. Look at the ominous black mist on you. You're not human anymore. Totally an ugly murderer. You've been deceiving us. Hear this. Lian's whole person will be in place. Raising his head, he gritted his teeth and glared at the man in front of him. Himself will be a lifetime, are unreservedly dedicated to him. He had always thought, to live for him is to live for yourself. But in the end, after he became famous, first things to do, it turned out to be abandoned to serve him like a dog. More than 20 years of self. At this moment, Lee's anger reached its peak. All the magic is unreserved. Even if you are crushed. Also put this back. The man who betrayed himself was dragged into hell. However, the oil ran out of light and Lian. Even agile. None of the guardian magic around you can break it. In the end, it was pierced by the bright, holy sword in his hand. Kicked aside like discarded garbage. Feel the gradual passage of life. Li Anxin was full of remorse and unwillingness. He never imagined that he would end up like this. What a fool's life. If only I could do it all over again. Wait until he wakes up again. There was a scolding girl young master in his ears. How long are you going to sleep? You don't just want to go to sparring. So it's dragging its feet. Hearing this, Lian looked at the woman beside her. This is clearly a maid who served himself when he was a child. Arya. Even the furniture around is exactly the same. Before Lian could think too much. Then he was pulled to the martial arts training ground. At this time, Lian finally confirmed a fact. He went back 27 years. The former Belt Castle. Today is the distance he enters. The academy has 1 year to go. At the beginning of each month, sparring is held. Even the Duke's father. You will also be there to watch. Important activities, and Lian's opponents, is the half-brother of the same age, Krantz. Belt's mother is the official Duke. Therefore, even if Lian is the old demon among the 4 brothers with him, Krantz is also going to be more eye-catching than him. And he in his previous life. Also after today's ravages. It became the object of ridicule by everyone. It was also from today that he was excluded from his father. I saw my father wave his hand and say the beginning. Krantz immediately preemptively rushed to Lian. With a wicked smile on his face, he swung his sword at him and slashed down. However, Lian was full of ambition about this, because in his eyes, this guy is as slow as a snail. Then he moved his body unhurriedly, easily dodged Kranz's attack. But in Kranz's eyes, Lian's dodge was nothing but a sad act of cowardice. Wait for the next second. The sword in Lian's hand swept out with lightning speed. Knock his sword away on the spot. Subsequently, it was even more careless to kick in Kranz. The pain in his leg suddenly distorted his face. Suddenly fell to the ground, hugged his legs and wailed. Lian flashed with rage, stared at Kranz viciously. Now just put the sword around his neck. You can win this sparring match. But Lian didn't want it to end so easily. In his previous life, he had been madly tortured by this guy. It even lasted all the way to the academy. So now he's going to crush Kranz completely, so as not to continue to be bullied by him. In this life, he has to live only for himself. So they ravaged it mercilessly. And Lian, after the victory in the sparring, it is therefore rare. I got my father's face-to-face. He even let his exclusive night come to the reclamation. And when on the road, Lian meets Mother Clans, who is on her way to the infirmary. Kiss. I saw his expression like he had eaten siang. He suddenly felt a rush of refreshment. The drama scholar asked, "Is it okay with Kranz?" Hearing this, Marjorie stared at Lian with resentment. "You bastard. Hurt your brother like this. And the face to say this. It's shameless." But Lian laughed out loud at this. It means that sparring is meant to be like this. But at this time, a vicious voice behind him froze. This is how a child is born to a filthy mother. "Humble boy, you should pick up something from the ground and eat it. It's still shameless in the limelight." Hearing this, the killing intent in Lian's eyes suddenly exploded. In an instant, I figured out how to kill him. But he was sudden. I thought of a better way to torture him. "I'll go to the academy with Kranz, you know. Don't you worry about your son? Can you graduate with a sound limb?" Lian is very threatening. The painting made Maria grit her teeth for a while. Then he raised his arms. "I'm going to wake up the bastard kid in front of me." However, a hand stood in front of Lian. I saw that there was a Dan who was willing to give no face at all. The Duke called the boy in a hurry. "We'll go first. Immediately embarrassed Maria will be in place." Lian, on the other hand, gave a wicked smile. Because the Duke's order is absolute. Right now, he was under the protection of knights, under the orders of the Duke. A moment later, Lian came to his father's study. This is the first time he has been alone with his father for 15 years. Duke William Spelt. He is the commander-in-chief, the great emperor of the western territory of the Wuxi Empire. It is also known as the guardian of the continent, possessed by excellent magic and excellent swords. Shu is a hero who has stopped the invasion of demons for a long time. In the end, he was killed in the war of invasion of the Demon King army. He has spent his life serving others. The so-called life is only for the peace of the mainland. But in Lian's eyes, he was an ignorant man, because it's all his own life of choice. Father commented on Lian's performance in the duel just now. The moment Kranz rushes at you, you can accurately judge the trajectory of the sword. But when did you learn swordsmanship? Lian secretly marveled at what a keen sense. Then he responded that he had not learned. Rather, "I work out alone every night." But my father was puzzled. In his impression, Lian has no talent for swordsmanship, not even interested in swordsmanship. But why did he hide such excellent strength? Speaking of this, my father's voice paused. "Although you did a great job of suppressing Kranz. But after the act is not necessary." Her father's sharp question shocked Li's mind. Is he trying to test his measurements? After some thought, Lian replied loudly with a straight face. "Because I want to prove, although they are brothers, but I'm better than Kranz." This is also the real meaning of this sparring. Hear this answer. My father burst out laughing. The compliments are really a cool and refreshing answer. I didn't expect you to have this kind of talent. I'm really happy. You. I will definitely become a good helper for Agile in the future. As soon as this remark came out, Lian's whole person was struck by lightning. My mind kept echoing what my father just said. Be that person's helper. His father's attachment to Agile is still the same. But now Lian. I couldn't change my father's mind yet. I can only tremble and clench my fists. Then his father said he could give him one. Reward. What you want could be raised. Hearing this, Lian's gaze was anonymous. The eyes gradually became firm, since this is the case. Then I will crush your attachment. Destroy everything Edge wants to do. Then he slowly said, I want to go to the front. And after Arya hears Lian's decision, I was about to go crazy with a shock. I just feel that the young master's brain is completely abnormal. I don't know what it is. There are a lot of vicious and terrifying monsters over there. And in the continent, the only place that can be called the front line. It was Villas, the western province of the empire. At the forefront of these was the merchant kingdom of Lemia. There is with the demons, the land of war that has lasted for hundreds of years. And the father too, and did not directly agree to Lian's request. He's going to be in a month. Confirm whether Lian is eligible. Though, Lian didn't know what his father's qualifications were. But for now, he has to do it first at the appointed time. Maximize muscle strength. Now his muscles are very weak. Thankfully, though, after his return, his fighting spirit remained. And you can feel a small amount of magic in your body. If you can exercise your body well, you can fully stimulate the potential of your body. So, exercising has become his top priority now. But just then, the door to his room was kicked open. A figure shouted his name, rushed in, stared at him menacingly. And this is none other than his sister Lilith Belt. He grabbed Lian by the collar, shake him like a drum. Li Shing questioned him if he was crazy. Actually proposed to my father to go to the front. Then he threw the dazed Lian on the ground. You think you're going to be good at playing Bucrans? Get up and follow me to the rooftop. A moment later, the two of them came to the top of the building. On the confrontation, Lilith told Lian, as long as you can hold on to the attack for 3 minutes in the afternoon, then I will agree with you to go to the front. Hearing this, Lian's face was full of helplessness. Ask Lilith if she really has to do this. But the answer he gets is the usual one for Lilith. Let's draw the sword. Prove it to me. Lian sighed tiredly. What a day of many disasters. Before he could finish his sigh, Lilith has attacked. In an instant, the sword was about to stab in front of him. But in the next moment, Lian's long sword was made first. A sword swept away the blade that struck in front of him. This shook Lilith's heart. He couldn't believe it. A 10-year-old blocked his attack, and he still uses the details of the thin and light blade of the sword. But he was able to flick his heavy sword with precision. Could it be that it was just good luck? But it also made Lilith feel very shameless. Squeeze out a kind smile. My baby brother is really good. Seeing Lilith like this, Lian didn't feel good. An ominous premonition crept through my heart. It's going to be over. The next moment, Lilith's offensive became more violent. Like a storm, opinions are growing faster. For a while, Delian was miserable. Under pressure, I can't help but use my own opinions on fitness. In the blink of an eye, it ran to Lilith's throat. But simply at the last minute, he interrupted the sword trail just in time. Then the two quickly pulled apart. Lian breathed a sigh of relief. It almost happened. If he had confiscated the arrows, the consequences would have been devastating. Because of the shadows he used. Sword chi is a nirvana. Once you make a move, it's a lore. But because of lack of physical strength. And it can't kill Lilith. That's why he's very passive and damn now. 3 minutes yet. To the difference between the incentives, though. It can be overcome by infusing magic into the net. But his body is now at its limit. However, at this time, Lilith on the other side whispered the terminology. Listen to the call of nothing. Let the earth be my sword. Sword at a glance. Lian's pupils suddenly darkened. There's no rush magic in this. I saw that Lilith seemed to be in a rampage. Starlight twinkles are common in the hands. There is a charming and terrifying atmosphere. Sword this scene, Lian wanted to cry without tears. Messy in the wind. Is he going to kill me? At this time, Lilith was completely caught in the storm. It's like losing your mind. There was only one thought left in my head. That is, you can't lose no matter what. Lian's face was solemn, full body alert. The power of Lilith's blow. Even if he can block it, they will also fall from the roof of the castle. Case. Then that's all he can rely on. In the next second, he suddenly rushed out with a force. Straight ahead, Lilith is brewing a terrifying ultimate. Lilith didn't hesitate to swing her sword and slash it. Lee's peace of mind was nervously shouting a name, please. Come out. Yukin. In the next moment, Yukin seemed to hear his call. A flash appeared in between, grabbed Lian in the air with one hand, blocked Lilith's attack with one click. The brilliant sword light instantly rose into the sky, illuminates the entire night sky. Yukin frowned. The words were full of blame for Miss Lilith. Aren't you going too far with the little master like this? Lian also breathed a sigh of relief. He thought he couldn't chew it out. At this point, Lilith finally came to her senses. Panicked and called the police. Lian apologized again and again, sorry for her brother. I just don't want you to go to the antecedents. It's that he's too obsessed with it. That's why I lost my mind. Feel the warmth of my sister's care. There was not a hint of blame in Lee's peace of mind, because it's really too much like his style. Lush star strong. Work harder than anyone else. Hence the ability to be on the mainland. Geniuses gather in the Royal Academy. An unprecedented record was set. Grades at S in all subjects. It's simply the best of the best. Plus, he also has a beautiful appearance. That's why he is called a child of God. Along with the gel, he is enshrined as the guardian of the continent. But after joining the Knights of Light, my sister will face a tragic end. Come to think of this, Lian couldn't help but call the police. Lilith, I miss you so much. Sister, I will definitely protect you this time. Lilith then turned to ask Yukin, isn't he his father's guardian knight? But my father had already gone on the expedition. How is he still here? Yukin's eyes were a little unnatural. Said that it was the Duke who ordered me. During this time, I guarded the little master. I couldn't tell you because it was a covert operation. Hearing this, the corners of Lian's mouth twitched. Just came out of my father's place. He sensed Yukin. If you keep pretending you don't know, he's not going to come out. The next day, Lilith returned to the academy, and Lian will do it for the next 2 weeks. Keep exercising, but the results obtained are not particularly significant. This was a far cry from what he had imagined to be. I can't help but miss the perfect body in my previous life. That's when Arya told him. Lilith sent something. The stench coming from above makes Arya disgusted. And this is after Lian asked her sister. Got Cerberus blood, only in the Limea Valley. To get the valuables. It has a foul smell and a burning mouth. Therefore, it is called a toxic substance. But he has a permanent ascension, effects of mana and stamina. Although everyone thinks that this is superstition. But in his previous life, he had already experienced that effect. Then Lian swallowed the blood in a gulp of nausea. Just got down. The thrilling sensation instantly made his body boil. Next, he's going to go for a walk. See how well the medicine works? A moment later, Lian, who absorbs the effects of the drug by running. I came to the back mountain, and in these 2 weeks, he has been. Wait for Yukin to leave the space where he went to report. In his previous life, Ajar was prompted by the God of Light. Learned that there was an ancient temple sleeping in the back mountain. Then Lian passed through the flow of magic. Locked a place. Then it blasted through the ground in front of it. A deep passage was revealed. Then Lian stepped in. Wait for Lian to reach the end of the temple. He saw the familiar Sword of Light. In the war with the demon realm in the previous life. The Demon Legion is an existence that transcends the limits of humans. but when humans excavate ancient relics. After 5 verses of God, elite victory was achieved. Durandak's relics. It is a sacred sword protected by the god of light. It is also a dance drama that leads mankind to victory. In the end, it fell into the hands of Agile. Lian. In his previous life, he died tragically under this sword. This made him wonder about his return, whether it has something to do with the holy sword in front of you. So he reached out and touched the sword. However, the holy sword did not give him any response. This made Lian feel helpless for a while. I couldn't help but kick the holy sword in annoyance. What bullshit holy sword? It's really annoying. But the purpose of his visit is not about getting the holy sword. Then he came to the shadow of the holy sword. At first glance, you would think that this is the shadow of a sword. In fact, this is not a shadow, for there shall be darkness on the other side of the light. Then he slapped his hands on the ground. Immediately the shadows on the ground rioted. To the back of the altar, a doorway was immediately exposed. After Dai Lian walked in, above the center of the altar, another sword was hovering. And this is exactly the sword demon that belongs to him, Sword Kalen. Lian clenched the magic sword in his hand, laughing softly. Have you slept enough? Hurry up. Receiving no response, he frantically flicked his magic sword, trying to wake Kai Lan up like this. Soon, a strange black shadow appeared in front of him. You're so daring. Do you know what it means to wake me up? Dare to wake up the sleeping magic sword. From now on, your body will be me. As he spoke, the black shadow instantly pounced on Lian, but he was grabbed by Lian. This shocked Kalen. Why did you touch me? Hearing this, Lian smiled fiercely, and I said it. You are mine. I saw Lian holding a magic sword. There was a terrifying tacit understanding all over his body. Kalen was puzzled when he saw this. How can you have the breath of Al on you? Are you his heir? On this? Lian Ensign smiled and gave sure. The host is back. Get on my knees. But his words still didn't get Kai Lan's approval. Then he launched an attack on Lian. Kalen's unruliness made Lian very helpless. That being the case, he could only use the simplest method. Then he whispered out the magic sword control. The next moment, Kalen was heavily suppressed by an invisible force. Liantyke said, I'll just say one last time. When I speak well, recognize me as a host. But Kalen didn't listen at all. Ask him how he knew about this spell. See that communication is fruitless. Lian recited the magic sword control again. Immediately after that, he repeated it 2.5 times in a row. Crushed Kalen's brain into the ground. Then I asked him how he was doing. Kalen had just opened his mouth to say yes. But that's not the end of the story. Lian was controlled by another magic sword, and that's it. Galanture was completely conquered. It then transforms into a little devil form. Excitement popped up. It's been a long time since I smell the outside air. It's exciting. Master, what's your name? My name is Shi An Belt. Kellen pondered the name he had heard for the first time. Ask if he was really chosen by Al. Lian nodded in the affirmative. Tell him he was in a past life. Because I've died once before. Hearing this, Kalen looked confused. I just think Lian is talking nonsense. Then Lian looked at the bright sword in front of her. He raised the dark sword in his hand. A sword severed the hilt of the holy sword. Seeing Lian's behavior, Kai Lan almost fell in shock. Ask him why he did it. The hilt of the sword in Iandan's hand was full of evil smiles. Although it is not yet known, but it should be interesting in the future. The time soon came to the day agreed with my father. He needed to pass his father's test. This is used to prove whether you are eligible to go to the front. With Yukin, he threw out a scroll. At the call of the scrolls, a hellhound suddenly appears. Lian stared at the hellhound in front of him. This is the lower-level demonic beast of the Limia Valley. It seems that the father prepared for this test. It's also a waste of effort. At the same time, the knights behind him were also on standby. As long as Lian's life is in danger, they'll strike right away. Liu Qin's eyes stared at Lian tightly. remembered that Lian found him 3 days ago. Sparring was proposed. It means that I want to get familiar with the feeling of actual combat. And Yukon agreed. Only use the scabbard to defend against his attacks. He can attack as much as he wants. But Lian made a small request. That's what happened in this sparring session. Don't tell your father. The next moment the figure picked up, swing your sword and slash at Yukon. Receive the heavy gravity from his hand. Yukon was amazed. I can't believe it. This is actually the sword of a 10-year-old boy. But there was more to him than that. I saw Lian's figure flickering rapidly. In an instant, it disappeared in place. By the time he noticed Lian's traces, he has appeared overhead. Then a sword fell from the sky. The sword is swung at a breakneck speed, but Yukon still held off all the attacks. With the swing of Lian's last sword. This is the end of this team practice. He put away his sword. Teammates are willing to express their gratitude. Sure enough, I still can't win you. However, at this time, the reclamation was not so easy. Panting and exhaling, my heart was full of shock. That weak Lian boy, it's grown to such a powerful point. It seems that he is now. It's enough to withstand any test in the world. I saw that the hellhounds in the field were the first to attack. Lian quickly sideways to dodge his charge. With his current motivation, cannot be directly connected to the monster hard cannon, because to end the battle as early as possible. Then he was left with the option of a one-hit kill. I saw Lian pour her magic into the common. Then he jumped violently. The sword is pointed out. On the spot, the devotion of the hellhound runs through. Lian's one-hit kill. Everyone at the scene was stunned. Seeing this, the corners of my father's mouth curled. Then he laughed, clapped his hands, and praised the filing of the case. We'll see you on the front lines. And after the father left, Hylon slipped out quietly. Full of resentment, he asked him why he didn't use it. You have to absorb blood to become stronger. Gazing at the hellhound on the ground. Please, let me take a bite. Hearing this, Lian smiled evilly. Don't worry. I'll let you eat as much as you like in the future. Let's look forward to it. 2.5 days. Later, Lian took Arya to the front line. The demonic beast that could be seen everywhere scared him and screamed. Keep asking him, why would you want to come to such a terrible place? Aren't you scared at all? Look at this familiar place. Lian has a feeling of nostalgia. Really? This kind of hellish place is for you. His father admonished him in a loud voice. There is not a moment to let your guard down here, because here you can die at any time. And in the days that followed, battles take place 3 to 4 times a day. Each battle has a clever guide to how to deal with it, led by a superior knight with outstanding strength. The monsters that want to cross the front line will be repelled one by one. And Lian was assigned a tent, is the safest last side. But even so, it was heavily guarded. As a result, he couldn't spare time to feed Kyan. We had to wait until the evening. It's late at night. Lian will be a doll. Put it under the covers as a disguise. Then he dived outside in the darkness of night. Because at night the front line will be on increased alert. That's why he's so light. The loose ones are free to enter and exit in the rear. A moment later, Lian came to the area infested with monsters. Now is the best place to use the magic sword. Immediately summon Kai Lan out. Irritating blood all around. The anger had already made him unbearable with excitement. I can't take it anymore, master. Hurry up and let me chop something. Immediately, Lian rushed into the horde of demonic beasts. The magic sword in his hand was wielded wantonly, crazy harvesting the lives of demonic beasts. Then Lian filled a cup of Warcraft blood. Gulp and drink it all. The next moment of stimulation of the blood, and the impact of power collided wildly in his body. But Lian enjoyed the feeling immensely, and the magic sword was also relieved at this time. He hadn't felt this refreshing feeling in a long time. So Lian immediately wanted to continue this kind of training. But Kalen said, relying on these hunting dogs alone, when will I get stronger? Hearing this, Lian looked behind him. A smile tugged at the corner of your mouth. And don't worry. The nights were long. There are many things about monsters. And on the other side, a convoy is heading towards the front line. Many knights guarded the white-haired woman in the carriage. The maid in front of the woman persuaded him. It's too late to change your mind. After all, the front line is too dangerous. But the woman resolutely refused. Don't treat me like a child. I'm the princess of the empire. I have this obligation to help my father patrol the house. I'm going to be angry if you say that again. Wen Yin's maid could only helplessly stop persuading. Then he suddenly remembered something. That's the front line. There is also the youngest son of the Duke of Bert. He's about your age. I've heard that they came here voluntarily like you. Would you like to come over and say hello? But the woman snorted arrogantly. I'm not interested in him. But then he asked for Lian's name. The maid thought about it. He responded that it seemed to be called Shi An Belt. Hearing this, the woman looked at the moonlight in the night sky. The name hard. And at this time on the front line, my father led many knights to fight against the monsters. At this time, his eyes were drawn to one place. It was Lian, who followed the battle in the nights. His performance pleased his father. I thought that Lian would be making a fuss about going back soon. I didn't expect it to last so long. That's amazing. Come to my tent tomorrow morning. I have something to say to you. Her father's performance surprised Lian. It was the first time he had seen it. The father had this expression. Late at night, Lian came to the Warcraft zone to hunt again. And this time, he met Dai Sea Worm, this powerful beast. It is usually only found in deep valleys. Seeing Lian's struggling appearance, Kellen asked if he wanted to leave it to him. Hearing this, Lian's eyes narrowed. You think I don't know what you're up to? But Kellen swore by it. It's really just a little bit of body use, and it's back to him. The wound on display in his current strength is too shallow. Dai Sikong was able to recover in an instant. Hearing this, Lian was noncommittal. This will indeed go on endlessly. Although he was in this month, drank the blood of countless demonic beasts. But it was still not enough to kill the filarial worm in front of him. Thereupon, Lian had no choice but to hand over her body to Kalen for the time being. Press the drinking room magic sword to descend. The next moment, Lian was enveloped in a thick demonic flame. The power also skyrocketed exponentially at this time. Then the sword spine 8-petal flower dance was launched. In an instant, it turned into a streamer and danced. In an instant, several swords are displayed. Completely split the body of the monster on the spot. His powerful self-healing power could not save him. After all, he was facing but a demon god boy with the power of darkness. Meanwhile, the father also discovered the body of the demonic beast that Lian had killed. Judging by the blood that is not yet clotted, these monsters had just died. Yukin noticed an unusual magic nearby. I wonder if it's a demon. The so-called Wenyin father had a solemn face. If there is a demon coming, it can't be ignored. So he ordered to search the surroundings carefully and destroy the corpse of the monster as soon as possible. But at this time, he inadvertently discovered a detail. A sword wound on the monster's body. There was a sense of déjà vu. Just as he was thinking, Liu Ken told him that there was a new discovery over there. It was the Daith worm who had been dismantled by Lian. See this scene? My father's heart churned. Could this be the handle of that organization? By this time, Lian had returned to the tent. He somewhat regretted his madness. It turned out to be a demon. The beast descended with a magic sword. That was to give his body to Kalen temporarily, although to be able to play the true strength of that guy. But if you're not careful, maybe it's going to be taken away completely. At this time, Kalen also appeared next to him. Said, even though you're a 10-year-old kid on the surface, but children who don't behave like each other at all. Not only did he know everything about me, even the whole part of the Lemire Valley is very familiar. There are also as if they have been cultivated. 30 years of old wax swordsmanship. Right now, I can finally believe you said that you died once. So you're a returner, right? Hear that? Lian showed an expression of hindsight. I told you a long time ago. I don't think you understand. Kalen, who was suddenly angry, screamed. Who understands what you say? But kill a guy of your strength? It's not an easy task. And you were killed by the bearer of Dulandak. Looking at it this way, there are only two situations. Either the duel was lost or betrayed. But you should be close to betrayal. After all, you look at the holy sword with an expression like eating siang. I'd be a fool if I couldn't even guess that. And so it goes. The purpose of your return is obvious. Revenge must already be being planned. In that case, you have to keep one thing in mind. If I see a hint of hesitation and weakness in you, I'll devour you right away. Dian smashed Kalen with an angry punch. What? Your master is not stupid. But a smile crept up on Lian's face. This guy's personality is really the same. It was and still is. A moment later, Lian stepped out of the tent. Just got outside. He noticed a different atmosphere than usual. Then Arya hurried over. Tell him that something big has happened. Last night, at the exit of the valley, the corpse of a high-level demonic beast was found nearby. Hearing this, Lianin was shocked. Could it be that you were talking about Dai Sea Worm? So Lian hurriedly asked, Is there any other news? For example, finding strange people, or about yourself. Just then, Kin appeared behind him. Tell him that his father wants to see him. Hearing this, Lian felt bad. Now it's in trouble. He suddenly had an affair with his father. I left the corpse of the monster over there and didn't deal with it. Now it seems that my father must have found out. What's next? Then Lian went to her father's place. After sitting down, father asked him directly what he was doing last night. Lian said it was because he was too tired. So I went to bed early. Hearing this answer, my father's eyes lit up. Just looked at the little son in front of him, the marks he saw yesterday. It is extremely similar to Lian's swordsmanship. Could it be that I am thinking too much? It should be difficult for such a child to do such a thing. Then Lian looked innocent. Ask why you're asking this. Father told him. Something happened near the station last night, although the specific situation still needs to be investigated. However, it is highly likely that it was committed by the assassination organization Black Object. They have been around since the stock market. No one knows their clear purpose. In the name of evolution, many nobles were killed. It is known for leaving a black mist in its path. But from one day on, they disappeared. It was last discovered 300 years ago, but last night was found on the corpse of a filaria. There was a black mist. It was clearly the trace of the dark god Ar. That is the main god that the Black Mist organization believes in, and it is also a source of strength for them. If my speculation is correct, it was the black mist that killed the filaria and the monster. After listening to her father's words, Lian was amazed. It's so powerful with a sword. If you kill it, you can infer that it hid 300 years ago. Traces of tissue. Father told Lian to be more careful lately. That's the end of it. So Lian was confused and passed the level. Then his father told him, His Majesty the Emperor will be visiting today. Speaking of this, he suddenly smiled mysteriously, said to ask Lian for one thing. It wasn't long before the Emperor came to the realm, and everyone was here early to greet them. The Emperor hurriedly stepped forward to help his father up. Said that they are all old friends. It doesn't have to be that way. At this time, he noticed Lian on the side. I can't help but praise it. Such a young child, living in such a dangerous place. My son is really different, and the matter of my father's request for Lian is actually very simple. That is to let him play a good son. Then, the Emperor said that he happened to have someone to introduce. Then the royal daughter in the carriage stepped forward. Luggage has seen the Duke. I am the 5th Empress of the Wuxi Empire, Yarin Isabella. After seeing Yalin, Lian's eyes were ningning, because this is the 5th princess of despicable life. And his father confessed to him before. He was in charge of entertaining the young 5 princesses. Just be by his side and play with him. After all, the two are the same age. You may see you again at the academy after you enter the school, although they won't be together for long. But I still hope that your relationship will get better. Although he was reluctant to do so, but he was also able to understand his father's intentions. I should hope that we can be like our fathers, and like the emperor. But it's a pity that he chose the wrong person, because Yaling is the fifth princess. But it was not given by the son of the queen. Instead, it was played by a commoner-born concubine. Therefore, she is also regarded as a vain princess. But he didn't succumb to the gaze of others. He studied harder than anyone else, diligent and self-motivated. But no one cares. In the end, he was driven out of the imperial city on charges of civil strife. After that, he was transferred to a border town and died. Therefore, she was also named the Princess of Despicable Fortune. If he lives without ambition, it certainly won't end up like this. It's just that only he knows this future. So I couldn't tell my father clearly. It's a hassle, though, but now I can only be obedient first. At this time, Aaron looked at the river in the distance, asked why the river is so red. Leanne told him it was the river flowed because of anger or injury. A monster caught in a scramble for food. Instinctively, they will jump into the river flowed. The magic in the river. It corrupts the body and fluids of monsters, because the river will be dyed red. Hearing this, Aaron immediately stared in shock. Other words, is it all the bodily fluids and corpses of Warcraft? Yes, and the monster will also use the river to bathe in it. Hearing this, Yalan suddenly felt very sick. Then he asked what was at the end of the river. Leon's eyes jumped into the distance and told him that he was from the demon realm. At this time, a cloud of gunpowder appeared in the sky, attracted everyone's attention. That's the direction of the third post in the west. This means that they are fighting Warcraft. My father immediately ordered the protection of His Majesty the Emperor. Guardian Knights, follow him to the third outpost. But the Emperor stood up to stop him. I will pull out the accessories from my waist. Do you think I'm here for sightseeing? Seeing this, my father also understood that he could not persuade the Emperor. It can only be agreed that he will join the battle together. Then the Emperor turned his head and gave the order from now on. The royal forces joined the monster crusade. By the end of the crusade, focus on killing Warcraft. So my father turned around and asked Lean to join the fight. Seeing that Lean can also go to the front line to fight, Yalan hurriedly said that he would also go with him. The corners of Leanne's mouth twitched, indicating that this is the front line. It's a playground, no matter what he says. Yaling is still willfully clamoring to go together. Leanne had no choice but to call Yukin. Let him take this wayward little yellow girl. Escort back to the bottom of the house. And at the third post on the other side, fierce fighting has broken out. My father also arrived at this time with his troops. With his command, the knights charged at the beast. Therefore, Leanne could not let him go no matter what. But even the demon dragon in front of him is still in its infancy. His strength should not be underestimated. A big gulp brewed a terrible spit. The power of terror was destroyed in an instant. Leanne's place. But fortunately, he dodged in time, flashed, and appeared next to the dragon. Swiftly swung two swords and slashed at the dragon's eyes. The demon dragon suddenly let out a roar of rage. The wings flew swiftly into the air. Then he suddenly accelerated and turned into a spear and stabbed Leanne. But Leanne smiled evilly without the slightest fear. Dodged the crash on one side. At the same time, the momentum in the hands is ready to go. In the next moment, he used the Shadow Sword Trail 8-petal flower dance. Knocked the dragon down on the spot. Leon loosened his shoulders in distress. His current body is still too difficult to deal with the demon dragon. But it's time to put an end to it. Then he was ready to put an end to the dragon. I saw the demon dragon flapping its wings again. Seeing this, Leon thought that he wanted to ignore it. But what he never expected was that the demon dragon turned around and ran away. but he was shocked and dropped his jaw. Immediately, he jumped up and rushed into the demon dragon in the air. He couldn't just let this guy go. So the persistent Lian just hugged the thigh of the demon dragon all the way, appeared in the sight of their father, the magic dragon that suddenly appeared. The emperor was very surprised. But what surprised him even more, why did Lian appear on the dragon? And asked his father why he was still stunned. Don't you hurry to save his son? However, the father fell into deep thought indifferently. At this time, Lian on the demon dragon was also very helpless. Now this situation is also a little overwhelming. Kylon asked him if he wasn't going to do something. Lian's eyes widened, shouted out that you didn't see the people below. But Kylon felt that it didn't matter anymore. If he didn't want to die, something has to be done now. But if Lian comes with a magic sword now, the end could be worse than death. Maybe I'll have to be tied up then. Burned alive. Are you going to stay with this dragon all the time? Aren't I trying to figure it out right now? Just when they were arguing. Still, my father made a move. I saw him chant with a sword in both hands. Seeing this scene, Lian was immediately shocked and sweated. Because it turned out to be 8. The secret of a star-studded magical paradise. It's terrifyingly endearing magic. As a result, Lian will also be involved. But to Lian's good fortune, the dragon wasn't hit so easily. Dodge and dodge the dense attacks. But even then he couldn't dodge all the attacks. In the blink of an eye, an attack hit Lian's eyes. In desperation, Lian could only spread his hand and jump from the demon dragon. But at this time, Lian was still thinking about his demon dragon. In my heart, I miss this treasure like this. See him like this. Kylon scolded and shouted, Don't die anymore. If you don't want to think of a way, you have to get close to the ground. Lian said with a headache, If you use your demonic energy again, they will be tied to a pillar and burned alive. Hear this. Kylon was also about to be mad by him. Are you going to die like this now? But suddenly, Lian seemed to see something. I suddenly had a way in my heart. His face was full of excitement, and he looked at the blood and Kylon below. Immediately knew what Lian wanted to do. Disgust expressed, You don't really plan to jump into that world. Let's go in the river. Lian reluctantly said that there was no other way now. Then it fell into the river with a thud. Meanwhile, a man in the distance also noticed the barn. The dragon's flying dragon. What a rare sight. The red-haired man behind him spoke. It's a lure dragon, but he seems to be lost. Got yourself in trouble. The man immediately thought, there must be very powerful monsters out there. But the red-haired man told him, it is inhabited by human beings. Hearing this, the man didn't believe it. I don't think dragons can lose to humans. Then he sensed it again, not far away. There was a strange and familiar energy. The red-haired man said he was not at ease and could go and have a look. But don't be bored. Just kill everything you see. And on the other side, Lian had already climbed ashore. He called out Kylon's name. Asked him why he doesn't speak. I saw Kylon's face full of resentment. Said angrily, I'm thinking about how to kill you right now. I feel like I'm all smelling auspicious. Lian reassured, don't be so angry. I'll clean it up for you when I get back. Hear the words. Kylon snorted coldly and asked him to think about how to go back. He's in the territory of the demons now. Lian told him not to worry. It's impossible to meet a high-level demon here. But his voice just fell. A voice appeared right behind him. I knew it. There's something interesting waiting for me here. For a moment, Lian's whole body was hairy. Reciprocal. The voice was deeply imprinted in his mind. It said he can't forget no matter what. Because this guy is a demon. The scariest guy is the demon Lord Vethleon. The demon king who is brutal and ruthless on the surface. Behind the scenes, he is an approachable teaser. This was completely beyond Lee's expectations. To know the past life. He is the hand of evil who has unleashed a war between man and demon. All those who met him had only one thought. This horrible creature is the embodiment of evil. But now, unexpectedly, he appeared in front of Lian without warning. This suddenly made Lian like a great enemy. He couldn't understand it. Why did you meet him at this moment? See the fighting posture of Lian. The Demon King's eyes narrowed suddenly. The next moment ghostly appeared behind Lian. Do you want to fight me? Lian quickly turned around and swept out his opinion. But it's the talent left by the Demon King who is attacking. His figure had reappeared behind Lian. But it was the Demon King who suddenly burst out laughing. You're such a funny little guy. Seeing this, Kalen asked what to do now. In his current state, how could he beat the king of the demon race? Hearing this, Lian couldn't help lowering his eyes. He knows it. It's impossible to defeat this horrible guy. The only way is to escape. But can he really do it? But what Lian didn't expect was this. The Demon King's performance was beyond his expectations. Relax with little ones. I don't want to fight a kid like you. In order to lower Li's vigilance, the Demon King even lay directly on the ground, said with a smile, if you are not at ease, we can lie down and talk. After all, no matter how much of a bastard I am, I can't do anything to a child. This scene immediately made Lian dumbfounded. How did this guy lie down all of a sudden? Then, the Demon King asked again if you were really human. Is this your first time in the demon realm? Lian nodded lightly. She's sure to see Lian's nervous look. The Demon King said that his appearance was a little strange. How do I feel like you know me well? In this regard, Lian said that he is indeed a human being, and I've never seen him. But why are you here? And the Demon King's leisurely appearance. Lian couldn't help but wonder, is this guy really the Demon King he knows? The Demon King said, I felt a strange energy in the inspection room. So come and have a look. This is his duty as the king of demons. But after that, he sat up suddenly. Ask Lian what she just said. So Lian repeated what he had said. But his calm appearance immediately aroused the suspicion of the Demon King. A human kid hears the name of the Demon King. I wasn't shocked. This instantly made him scream madly. Sure enough, you've seen me somewhere. Children of mankind. How could there be such a reaction from you? Didn't your mother tell you about it? Is it a story that if you don't obey, you will be captured by the Demon King? His appearance suddenly made Lian's head full of black blood. This guy. It's definitely not the Demon King I know. If the plot is the same as in the previous life, it won't be long before the Demon King will begin to invade the human realm. But this guy doesn't look like that kind of person at all. If this is his true character, what kind of promotion is that? Make him the cruel and ruthless Demon King. So Lian asked the Demon King a question. If he's really the Demon King, what do you most want to do? Hearing this, the Demon King smiled gently. I didn't have much to do. I only want my people to eat and drink well. Life is fulfilling. But at this time, the Demon King's painting style was gloomy. But if anyone dares to spoil all this, then I'll kill them all. Because this is my job as a Demon King. Duty. I felt the horror that flowed out in that moment. Lian's suspicions were also confirmed. This guy. It was indeed the Demon King he knew in his previous life. That real horror monster Venerian. Merely. Now it's as if he's been sealed. Therefore, the shackles must have been unshackled by some accident. Thinking of this, Lian decided to stop that from happening. So he asked the Demon King whether you are willing to make a deal with yourself. Because it won't be long before he gets into an accident, thus threatening the people he ruled. Although I don't know what that thing really is. But I can tell you for sure. That thing, it will start a war between humans and demons. Hear that? The Demon King felt that this was nonsense at all. You think I'm going to plunder the territory? But Lian told him it was true. Therefore, it is also the reason why I want to negotiate with him. Promise me, no matter what happens, you don't provoke a war. The Demon King clasped his hands on his chest, said speechlessly, let's not say if this is true or not. Even if it's true, what do I promise you in return? To this, Lian responded that he could help him. No matter what happens, I'm going to do everything I can to help. The demon king of literature leaned down and leaned in front of Lian, stared straight at him. What do you know? Tell me your name. Young Lian raised his head and said, Lian Belt. Demon King Wenyin also agreed to a deal with Lian. Promises were made to him. No matter what happens, it will not invade the world. But he is also responsible for the commitments he makes. After all, a trade is a deal. In this regard, Lian nodded seriously and gave recollections. Then there will be a period later. The teenager's picture turned. The knights found Lian by the river on the border. This allowed him to successfully return to the empire. And since then, Lian also received a new title, the boy who survived the dragon's mouth. Take Lian when she wakes up again. He was overwhelmed by the scene that was happening in front of him. I saw Aaron sitting upright in front of his bed. There was a shy flush on his face, but he still mustered up his courage. I repeated what I had just said. Would you like to be my man? As soon as this remark came out, Lian was dumbfounded. What the hell is this guy talking about? He is obviously the most honorable martial princess in the empire, but he was willing to put down his body and recruit boys. It's just because the boy shows a talent beyond ordinary people. Not only saved him in the mouth of a high-level demonic beast, he also managed to survive the terrifying dragon mouth. Can face the solicitation of Yalan. Lian refused without hesitation. Immediately, Yaling's face was flustered. He immediately understood why. Trembling with scorched beards, crying pear blossoms bring rain. He's just an incompetent princess. See this? Lian was speechless and upset for a while, although he is well aware of Yaling's incompetence. But what I don't like even more is his bad attitude. So he made a gesture and said that this was the case. But don't be too disappointed. Hearing this, Yaling suddenly clenched her little hand. In an instant, she regained her arrogant princess appearance. Pretty blushed softly. I see what you mean. As long as I grow to a certain extent, you're going to approve of me. Waiting for Jordalian Belt. Sooner or later, I'll be strong enough. You can't ignore me. Aaron was confident and optimistic. Let Lian sweat. I secretly said in my heart that he was really a child. It's back so soon, so come on. I'm looking forward to seeing that day. Just as Aaron was about to leave. But he stopped. There was one more thing. Yalan turned his head and smiled. Whispered anyway. Thank you for saving me. The scene pans to the grove in the camp behind you. A man sneakily looks around. Then he took out a Rubik's Cube that emitted a ghostly light. Staring at the Rubik's Cube said excitedly, There's not much left now. Right now. A voice sounded behind him, and it turned out to be you. Zener Crimson. As the voice fell, Zenad's body also became immobile. It's like being imprisoned in invisible chains. I saw Lian appear behind Zenad. His eyes fell on the Rubik's Cube in his hand. He recognized it at a glance. It's a man-made piece, an artifact made of magic. Inside, there is an infinite amount of energy, space to store items. This is the masterpiece of Master Garm, the magical society. And Lian has been paying attention for a whole year, because there are people going on within the Empire all the time. It seems that person is you, the Director General. 7-star Knight Zener Crimson. Hear this. Zener was terrified. You are Lian Belt. Why are you here? Lian backhand. Dump the items in the cube on the ground. And those are all important materials on the corpse of the monster. I asked if he had a room at the border. The spy leader was thrilled when he heard this, shouting that he didn't know anything. Seeing this, Lian didn't have to play dumb. Because of the warcraft they smuggled, evil has appeared on the black market, and Lian previously passed Lily, soaked to get the blood of the hound. It was also obtained through the black market. Thereupon, Lian wondered who that spy might be. Meanwhile, Zener found that his body was able to move, magic quietly condensed in his hands. Suddenly, he raised his hand and launched a sneak attack on Lian. In an instant, a monstrous flame engulfed it. At this time, Zener finally breathed a sigh of relief. I almost lost my precious Rubik's Cube, but in the next second, a sword flashed in front of him. His palms separated from his body on the spot. At the same time, a strange black mist floated in front of him. Lian's figure emerged in the black mist. Then he grabbed him by the throat. Terrifying demonic energy is pumped in the body. Tell me. Your choice is to say everything you know, then die comfortably, or accept. Even God will pray for you for the torment. The screen turns. Border trade wars in the western region. The two men watched with delight at the smuggling. Items can be made when they open the box. The color of Peking opera suddenly filled their cheeks. Because inside is Zenad's head. And, at a distance, Lian watched as they looked flustered. Kellen asked, "Isn't he going to take a shot at those guys?" But Lian said a warning was enough. "Zenad, this guy. Smuggling has been carried out on the front line, and his smuggled goods will be sent to the Magic Society. It's where all the magic-obsessed mages come together. They study the origins and foundations of magic, and the art of creating new magic. They are a desire, a group that transcends the limits of humanity. At the moment, they are making useful objects. For example, the inner sword Rubik's Cube. But in the future, they will use Warcraft to write. Do even crazier things. So Lian wants to stop them from now on." Kalen saw this. "I can't help but complain. You're going to change your career from an assassin. Win the problem solver. I thought you were going to live for yourself. But what you're doing now, isn't it a selfless thing?" Hearing this, Lian Mosey was indifferent. "I just don't want anyone to take advantage of Warcraft." "Right?" And turn the screen. Inside a residence somewhere in the Empire. Agile looked at the letter in his hand with a slight distraction. "My little brother Lian, did you follow your father to the front?" "Hear that?" The woman behind her smiled charmingly. "Is that your half-demon?" I saw Agile give a demonic sneer. "This guy is really annoying me. Looks like I'm going to have to find some time to see him." He just smiled gently. But the anger in the boy's heart was completely ignited. I can't even wait to put it in the bottom on the spot. Because he knows. The gentle brother in front of him. In fact, he is a hypocritical pervert. It turned out after the end of the frontline execution in Lean. He and Arya prepare to return to the family for the academy. The thought of leaving this soon, a place of horror. Arya couldn't help but cheer excitedly. "I'm looking forward to the next trip to the academy. I heard that there are a lot of handsome teachers there. It's really exciting. Is it finally my turn to live a romantic life?" But Lian was not at all happy about this. Because for him, the academy is the beginning of life in hell. There. It's not what Arya was looking forward to. It's a place of politics and intrigue. Relationships are more important than education. The screen turns. Lian returned to her family from the front. As soon as he entered the door, he met an acquaintance. It was a duel with him before. The ravaged Krantz. This also lets... Krantz left a deep shadow in his heart. So much so that now when I see Lian, I am harmed. Trembling with fear. Before Lian could speak. And he turned and spread his feet. Flee as fast as possible. Hylon asked who the idiot was just now. Lian waved his hand helplessly. "That's my half-brother. Ignore him." A moment later, Lian walked into the castle. As soon as they entered the door, the servants respectfully greeted the luggage. This scene caught Lian by surprise. In his impression, these guys aren't that polite to themselves. He didn't even look at himself before. But when I think of my hard work and dedication this year, he felt that it was all his deserved. Then I was ready to open the door. Can be a second. His whole body was standing in place. Because he sensed an aura of familiarity and disgust. It was a breath he could never forget. You can't go wrong. Behind this door, it's the sworn enemy he hates. Older half-brother Agile Belt. It's been a long time since I've seen Lian. See this at a glance. Immediately reassuring that he would stare at him in place. Hate and rage. Killing intent gradually took over his mind. He could no longer remain calm. The monstrous hatred before the death of the previous life. The moment to see this man again. It was completely ignited. He subconsciously took out the demon's sword. There was only one thought left in my head. Just kill him. Right now. Huron abruptly stopped Lian's behavior. He told Lian, "If you don't want to die, you will wake up immediately. If you shoot at him now, but it's going to get boring." Hearing this, Lian frowned. Eyes twisted. In the end, he pressed down the sorry in his eyes. Towards the Agel in front of him, he owed his luggage. It's been a long time since my brother has seen Lian's appearance. Agel held out his hand, gently stroked his head. "I thought you didn't recognize me. I heard that your swordsmanship has improved. Looks like it's going to help a lot soon. I will be waiting for your Wenyin on the battlefield." Lian's eyes were cold without a trace of emotion. "Yes, I'm looking forward to that day." Lian's appearance. It made Agil feel a little strange. Then he told Lian, "His performances at the front line delight him. I also came back to see him today." In this regard, Lian only felt that he was targeted, because he knows this guy well. If you don't use it yourself, he wouldn't even glance at it. But now, after knowing the reason why Egypt is here, Lian also became more and more calm. Meanwhile, Arya carried 2 large suitcases of luggage. Scolding back to the room, "The little master is really... I don't take any luggage. Can't he help me? It's really exhausting me." Then he pushed the door open. But when he was about to scold, "But I saw Agil who came out. I was stunned on the spot." Agil saw this. "Mildly, I heard that, Lian, and you were very close. It seems that this is the case." Arya, who reacted, hurriedly nodded in a panic. Elder young master, walk slowly. Don't forget to shout and complain at Lian. It almost scared the hell out of me. Little master, why didn't you tell me that the eldest young master was here? However, Lian's behavior at this time was different from usual. The whole person was a little gloomy and said, "Arya, can you leave me alone for a quiet moment?" Seeing this, Arya asked with some confusion what was going on. But what responded to him was Lian's cold eyes. "I don't want to say it a second time." Lian then collapsed in the toilet and vomited. The violent mood swings were followed by a bout of nausea for him. Then asked Kakalan, "Why stop yourself just now? It's a great opportunity to take control of your body." But Kellen grinned. "Shouldn't you thank me? And make no mistake about it. I just want your anger to get bigger and bigger. That way I will taste better." Hear the words. Lian smiled, and sure enough, this is like you. And on the other side is the room of Eagle. One of his subordinates reported to him. Said that the whereabouts of the second lady had been found. He is now in the territory of the northern White Elves. Classical Chinese. A smile of interest appeared on Ajur's face. The White Elves are known for their aversion to outsiders. But he can deal with each other. It seems that he is indeed very good at dealing with people. If he's coming back, remember to report back to me. The man immediately came down in English. And looking at Eagle's appearance, he couldn't help but ask, "Is something good happening? You look more excited than usual. Is the meeting with the little master interesting?" Hearing this, Agel's laughter burst out loud. "Interestingly, you can say the same, but your idea is wrong. I'm not happy at all." For a moment, an eerie aura enveloped the man. Frightened, he hurriedly apologized. Egil was thinking about it. That look Lian just showed. It's like looking at an old enemy. Did you read it wrong? This upset Agil inexplicably. So he arranged for the man to find someone to keep an eye on Lian. Then he looked into the distance and fell into thinking about Lian. What the hell are you hiding? He only showed his strength slightly, but it scared a group of high-ranking knights. It really is. Is there any power that an 11-year-old can have? Originally, today is the day Lian leaves for the academy. But Arya was extremely dissatisfied, because the academy does not allow maids to accompany them. His previous illusions were shattered. Lian was speechless, saying that the academy only allowed the guardian knights. I can't help it, but don't get into trouble after I'm gone. When Yin Arya whispered, "Young master you are. You'd better pay more attention to yourself." Subsequently, Lian embarks on her journey under Arya's watchful eye. He snorted and cried. Say a final goodbye to Lian out loud. Master, you must come back safely. Arya's howl. It also brought back Lian's memories. When he was 8 years old, he had a particularly severe fever. No one wanted to take care of him at that time. Arya was the only one who ignored the heavy rain, carrying himself like a fireball on his back, stormed the treatment center in the camp. If it weren't for him, Lian has long been fooding, a corpse in a corner of the room. So it was and it is. Elijah is more than just a force to lean. It's very important, people. What made Lian feel very sad was that this is a simple escort mission. 6 high-ranking knights were actually sent. The thought turned. Lian had seen through it. It seems that there is a good show before entering the school. On their way. The sun is also ready to set. The knights woke up Lian in the carriage. Indicates that it has arrived in the central city of Sibilan. Neighborhood, we will be there tomorrow morning. I'll take a break here tonight. Hearing this, Lian also agreed. Let them arrange their own arrangements. However, he had already seen through everything in his heart. This guy is lying. For there is no such jungle near Sibilan. It doesn't look like there's the right shade. So why camp in such a wilderness? Their ideas are also too obvious. Then Lian got out of the carriage. Meanwhile, the knights also gathered around him. Lian's eyes were also cold. Let's talk lightly. Who is the mastermind? The knight for the head saw this. With a sneer, he pulled out the accessory. Dead people don't need to know that much. We also regret that this will be the case. This is not out of personal feelings. All you have to do is close your eyes. Everything will be very calm in the past. With that, the man had already waved his knife and came to Lian. Unexpectedly, his blow was easily dodged by Lian. The moment the knife flashed in the next second, a head flew into the air. Then he slammed into the ground with a thud. It was the knight who had just shot at Lian. See this scene? The expressions of the other knights changed dramatically. My heart was full of surprise, shocked by the momentum that broke out because of Lian's incident. It's like a devil from hell. It's a tingling on the scalp. What's wrong? Are you all scared silly? I didn't expect the story to go to May I. Do you expect that? But soon someone came to their senses, rushed behind Lian, and launched a sneak attack. However, his attacks were nothing but useless. Under the strong combat power shown by Lian, the man was separated on the spot. Other discrimination. One by one, they became his effective souls. A knight who can't withstand this terrifying pressure. Turn around and run. But Lian just threw the magic sword casually, completely cut off his hope of escape. In the end, only one last knight remained. He was already frightened by the scene in front of him. His overwhelming strategy of this terror. Is it really something that an 11-year-old can have? It turned out that he could come back alive from the dragon's hands. Sure enough, it's not just rumors. This mission has failed from the start. With Lian, we'll have a cold gaze. Put it on his body. The man suddenly felt that death was imminent. Limp and collapsed to the ground. Lian approached step by step, full of gloomy questions. Now are you willing to say who is responsible for this? A man who has been scared to the point that he has half his life left. Without hesitation, he replied, it was at the behest of Duchess Mary. See him like this. Lian was a little speechless. How did this guy answer so quickly? Lian had no idea what he looked like a god. What a shadow it has left on people. Next, Lian continued on her way to the academy. From the mouth of the last remaining knight, Sir Krantz desperately made some kind of request to his mother. This may have something to do with their mission this time. It turned out to be because of this guy Krantz. It seems that the next time we meet, we will have to beat him up. And because of the need for a person to drive. So, Lian didn't kill this last piece of discrimination. And this guy just looks weak. There is no value in getting rid of it at all. Not much. Lian finally arrived in the city where the academy was located. The central city of Sibilan. For the first time, Lian showed his talent to the world. The academy professor was so shocked that he couldn't keep his mouth shut. Just because of his dark nature. It set a new record in history. Just after Lian arrived at the Royal Academy, he showed a badge representing his identity. The front desk was a little stunned after seeing it. Help him complete the enrollment process immediately, and put a distinguished room key in letters to him. See this key. Lian was a little puzzled. Confirm with the woman that he really isn't mistaken. A moment later, Lian came to his assigned accommodation. The room in front of you. It exudes the ubiquitous luxury and nobility, because this turned out to be the Royal Academy Pavilion. But in their family, no one was ever accommodated. I guess someone said hello in advance. Lian asked the knight, did he bring in all his luggage? Yes. All the luggage you brought with you has already arrived. After getting an answer, Lian put his hand into his arms. Now that we have arrived at the academy, the luggage was also moved. That's the end of your mission. See this scene? Cold sweat instantly raced across the knight's face. Hurriedly shouted and waited. However, Lian just threw a bag of gold coins to him. In his expression, for unknown reasons, Lian gave an explanation. It's your hard-earned fee. Wait for him to get out of here. No matter what you do, it is also a sufficient amount of startup capital. If you don't want to die, don't go back to the family. Hear that? The knight fell silent. The next moment, he suddenly knelt down to Lian and bowed to the ground. Loudly swore to Lian that he was Fla, willing to protect you for life. Venerable Master Lian. Lian was a little helpless. Sighed softly. You've done something very troublesome. Fura said that her father had said it. If you come across a master army worth following for life, don't be confused. His voice had just fallen. Lian instantly revealed an eerie, killing intent. What if you betray me later? Seeing this, Fra broke out in a nervous cold sweat. But Lian's palm, already lightly placed on his shoulder. I hope you don't betray me. Otherwise, I promise you'll regret it. And at the same time within the Pennebank, Maria had also known that Lian had arrived safely. News from the academy, and the knights he sent to assassinate. Except for the disappearance of entertainers. All the others found bodies. The news made Maria extremely angry. Keep an eye on your subordinates. Didn't you say it would be foolproof? Now what's going on? I can't even get rid of a 10-year-old hairy child. Is this a joke? The men listened to Maria's angry scolding. Said in a panic, I'm afraid he has helpers around us that we don't know about. As long as you're willing to give it another chance, we can send someone to the academy. Maria, however, interrupted him. Now the most worried is his son Crane. Now, in case Lian's little bastard does do something to him. Thinking of Lian's cold threat at the time, and he was afraid. It was Maria who ordered her men. Don't make any more moves. And this time I can't let anyone know. Get rid of all those who are connected. However, as everyone knows, there is a figure at the door. Their conversation has been thoroughly covered. The time comes to the day of the admission attribute test. The dean looked at the test results in front of him with satisfaction. Among the students of this class, there are quite a few great talents. The result of the Yalin test is 52% of the light properties. Magic level 2 stars. Physical grade B also has one. A man named Seth. 71% rodenticide was detected. The magic rating is 3 stars. The physical level is level 1. But what amazed him the most was the filing of the case. Because his dark attribute is 92%. The magic rating is 1 star. The physical strength is S grade. It can be said that it is the top existence in all aspects. To know that it was his older sister Lilith, who was known as the Son of God. At the time of graduation, the water attribute was only 88%. Those children who used to be called geniuses by the academy. It was so bleak in front of Lian, but it's a bit of a pity for them. His attribute is the most unpopular dark attribute. It is a feature of the dark attribute. It may not have been able to tap into its potential yet. Man dies first. But one thing that the dean values the most right now is that or Lian was arranged to live in the royal pavilion, and still in the name of the emperor. Hear that? Salika's pupils shook. The store manager told him, Lian saved the Empress of Yaling on the front line. Right now, the emperor was already thinking about the marriage of the two. Sirika, who learned the bombshell news. Kim Sandatsu, the 5 princesses who were excluded from the dispute over imperial power, joined forces with the talented Pentaline family. If this kind of thing happens, then the succession to the throne is divided. The controversy will be further catalyzed. Maybe the whole empire will be divided. The dean reassured Sirika that he didn't have to think so much about it. All they can do now is wait and see. This child will be a disaster for the empire in the future. Or a hero. We can only wait and see. And on the other side, Lian, who had finished the test, pondered his count. He remembered that he was 80% in his previous life. Now it's 92%. It seems that it is because of drinking a lot of demonic beast blood. Just when he lost his mind, a figure appeared in front of him. When I fixed the mirror, it turned out to be Krantz. As soon as he saw Lian, it's like a mouse being as scared as a cat when it sees it. At this time, the little fat man behind Krantz spoke. That's it. Do you treat you like a slave? After getting confirmation from Krantz, he said with a sneer at Lian, I heard you don't even know who your own mother is. This guy's name is Pofi. It was often in a past life, bullying Lian's bastard with Krantz. Now that the enemy meets again, they are very red. Leon Sheen sneered, this bastard came just in time. And Porfi. At this time, those who are not afraid of death have to give Krantz a head. Aggressively walked towards Lian. Krantz was bold and tried to dissuade him. As a result, the next second, Lian flew up, kicked Porfi into the ground. It's just that he has the legendary dark sword. But it made the woman feel extremely frightened. Because I want to be able to wield the dark sword. It must be approved by the dark gods. Just after Lian stomped Porfi on the sole of her foot, he stared at Krantz in front of him with a cold expression. Just a gentle move, but it can scare him into a cold sweat. Lian chimed into Krantz's ear, said gloomily, I'm not interested in what you're doing behind your back. But if I find out, I'm afraid it's hard for you to graduate with all 4 limbs intact. Lian's fluttering words immediately made Krantz want to be distracted. 3. The soul was lost, and the 4 were powerless and fell to the ground. Lian, on the other hand, left with a wicked smile on her face. I'm afraid that the future college life will be very interesting. The screen turns. Inside a library on one of the colleges, Sirika was still thinking about what the headmaster had said. Will Lian become a disaster or a hero? It seems that I will have to pay more attention to him in the future. But when he was ready to take the books he wanted, only to find that the book was no longer there. Right now, Lian's voice came from the side you are. Looking for this book. Lyrika's expression changed suddenly. He didn't even notice Lian's breath. But in the blink of an eye, he was back to normal. Smiled and asked how Lian got in. This is not a place to come in. Lian-san, can you give it back to me? That's all I need for my research. Lian Wenian chuckled and said, of course. Then he handed the information in his hand to Sayalika. However, in the next second, a dark aura swept away. But Lian seems to have expected this. There was a thin smear of blood hanging from the corner of his mouth. Isn't that what you've always wanted? Professor Helika is not. I should say, the Helika Hall Master of the Black Mist Organization. Saw. Helika's hands were wrapped in a thick aura of darkness. His expression was cold. Ask Lian what kind of person you are. In the previous life, lion-paired. Professor Helika's first impression was that of the ordinary. He would always interview on the grounds that he cared about himself. At that time, Lian, who had been bullied by his brothers of the same clan, very eager to get stronger. And it was Helika who gave him hope, a dark attribute that is useless in the eyes of others. In his mouth, it is full of potential. That's why. At that time, Lian was given the care of Hilda. Warm heart. But all this is just an illusion. Because it's just bait. The identity of the professor of the Royal Academy is just a disguise for him. Helika's true identity is actually the assassin. And at this time, Lian number 4 school, the flying colonel posed a question to Helika. Your evolutionary work, when did it start? When Yen Helika fell silent. Immediately, a wave of Ling Rant's killing intent erupted. What are you talking about? I don't understand at all. Seeing that Sirika was still pretending to be stupid, Lian went straight and went further. That is, of course, an assassination attempt by you. Hear that? The murderous intent in Silika's eyes deepened. If you take back what you just said, I can assume I haven't heard it. But Lian was not stage frightened. Evil laugh. Are you threatening the students? The next moment, Sirika suddenly attacked, kicked the table in front of him towards Lian. Lian slammed the table in half with a blow of power. In this room, Sirika had already come behind Lian. With 2 knives in hand, you will launch a surprise attack. Lian winced, said lightly, I think I've come to confess who I really am. Are you sure you want to do it again? But his words didn't stop Silica. Even if you're a real black fog, I also don't allow to have not been. The black fog that the Hall Master knows exists. Seeing this, I was angry. Lian had no choice. With a wave of his hand, he summoned the magic sword. A backhand sword knocks back the attacking Silica. Since you don't believe it, then I can only prove it to you. A swift offensive was then launched against Sirika. At this time, Sirika's expression changed drastically, because he had recognized the weapon in Lian's hand. That is clearly only the approval of Al, the dark sword that can also be used. Kaylin Lian raised her magic sword in her hand. Dandin said, now, can you finally recognize me for who I am? You're looking for the heir to the Black Mist, right? Then please bring me to Al. The heir you are looking for is here. The boy is nothing more than an understatement. But it made the woman's heart shake, because he is the heir of the dark god Ar. And to verify what Lian said, Helika took him to a warehouse somewhere. Tell him it's the way to the altar. From this point on, it was up to him to go on his own. Lian could clearly feel the difference. There is an aura of darkness everywhere in the trail. That's when it happened. Lian's eyes spotted the enemy's tracks. Then an arrow swept away the dagger that struck first. Then, his eyes were fixed on the assassin who was following him, although this situation was expected by him. However, the welcome ceremony seems a little too grand. In the blink of an eye, the assassin's attack had struck him. The magic sword in Lian's hand swung rapidly. The backhand will shoot back with a bang. This shocked the assassin's heart. He turned out to be in such a short period of time. Peel off your own short-sightedness. That's enough. In the next moment, several people launched the Shadow Cheat's dead corner. Chun Jiaji's momentum. Attack Lian without dead ends. Seeing this, I was angry. Lian's eyes flashed red. The surging blood-colored chi erupted from within the body. Moment. The assassin gently lifted his arms and looked pained. The sensation of suffocation immobilized his body. Then he fell to the ground and passed out. And this is exactly the murderous fluctuation in the Shadow Cheats. Visualize the murderous aura. Unleashing with the body is an inherent skill of the assassin. But what Lian didn't expect was this. There are still people who can continue to fight. Is it the elite at the cadre level? Thinking of this, Lian didn't dare to underestimate the enemy. Hold the magic sword and prepare to use the cheats in the shadow sword. Available in the next second. The assassins came at great speed. This immediately surprised Delhi with peace of mind. It was able to interrupt my arrow. Who the hell is this guy? Meanwhile, the mask on the assassin's face also fell. I'm not bad at it. Ryan Belt, after seeing the person in front of him, the corners of Lian's mouth twitched. It was a sharp card that had just been separated from himself. I saw that his face was flushed at this time. Extremely excited. I couldn't take it anymore. Show me your true power. As soon as the words fell, Lean used the Ranheim in the Dark 5 bus. Knocked Silica back. This scene, it makes Sirica more and more curious and expectant about Lean. You can use the Dark Force and the guides so skillfully. I'm getting more and more interested in you. Lion Belt. Unexpectedly, his words are not lying. Lian quickly turned and ran. And that's why he did it. It was Doyu who noticed Sirica's body. That is, to indulge in the desire to fight. Fight with such people. It won't stop until it dies. Only those who have experienced it can understand that madness. Sirica chased Lean from behind. His face was full of desire to fight. Fight me, Lion Belt. Aren't you longing for that too? With that, he launched a season of cases against Lean. The storm swept in. Lean felt a little helpless after blocking the blow. I really don't want to fight such a madman. Hilika, however, told him not to worry. This is a mental space created by Arl Sama. You won't find his breath outside. You can fight with confidence. Hear that? Leon was no longer ready to run away. Because of this, he'll be able to use all kinds of skills to his heart's content. Although there is a possibility of killing the Hall Master. But there's no way around it. But right now, Lian's body froze suddenly. Then he fell to the ground with black eyes. After he fell, the magic sword in his hand gradually began to condense. I knew it was going to happen. You might as well take a break for a while. In Helika's surprised eyes, Kellen appeared in front of him in human form. He asked with a proud look on his face, "Do you know me?" Hear that? Helika immediately knelt down respectfully. "Yes, Lord Kalen." Kellen was a little angry and dismissive. Said a group of guys who professed to believe in Al. "How dare you touch my master?" Helika explained, "It's just a job to do as a parody man, in order to confirm whether Lian is the heir." But this answer did not satisfy Kellen. He shouted, "Call your god directly. Don't you know? Since you didn't do it, can I take it as a matter of course? You're challenging me too." However, Helika told him to put those words aside for a while. Until then, shouldn't it be first? Take care of our heirs. Just when Kalen was wondering, turn your head and find out. Lian was already bleeding a puddle of blood. "What are you doing? How did it become like this?" And Helika knows why. That's because Lord Kalen is showing up. Reveals a fully materialized state. Is needed through absorption. The life force of the host is maintained. This is a very ineffective way. Kalen picked up Lian. Hate iron does not make steel, and said that it is only to this extent. You start vomiting blood. So much demonic beast blood and rice were absorbed in vain. And at this time, Helika spoke again, "But I'm the head of the Black House. We will not refuse any challenge. And if the opponent is you, I won't say no." I saw Helika's face. Once again, he showed a look of unstoppable madness. This made Kalen scream viciously. What's going on with this strange guy? And then Lian also woke up. Very speechless, asked Kylon, "What did do suddenly materialize?" On this, Kylan's real name smiled and quietly hid behind me. "Let me take this damn fellow. Stomp under your feet. Hear this?" Salika's excitement grew. "It's a real pleasure for me. Higlan-sama." But at this moment, a majestic voice stopped the two from fighting. "That's it. Bring the heir to the altar." A portal appeared in the middle of the game. And the owner of this voice is Al. See this scene? Leon Sheen was nervous and looking forward to finally meeting ARR, the god of darkness.